Savathûn is one of the villains in the game Destiny 2. She is feared due to her cunning, subtle displays of evil. Throughout Destiny 2's raids and story missions, bosses that are seemingly acting of their own volition are being puppeteered by Savathûn for her own personal agenda. She is the evil of evils, seducing both Hive and Guardians to grow just a little more comfortable with her twisted way of thinking. Savathûn is a prominent figure in this season of Destiny 2, known as Season of the Lost. In summary, our Guardian finally finds the fugitive Osiris, and it is revealed that Savathûn has been possessing Osiris's body for as long as we have known him. She has stolen his speech and movements, and though the real Osiris is still present in his body, he is entirely helpless to do anything but watch. Marasov, Queen of the Reef, contains Savathûn in a crystal after she sheds her Osiris disguise. And thus, Savathûn's crystal stands, monolithic in stature. Marasov keeps Savathûn's crystal in a cathedral-esque room, adjacent to the room where she conducts her usual operations. Queen Mara exists in a space so close to the being who has the power to turn good people into her pawns. The only barriers that prevent Savathûn from accessing the Helm, a safe hub world where leaders discuss their plans, are one crystal and an easily accessible portal. This proximity, even as a player, is terrifying. The room where Savathûn is held captive is not peaceful, nor still. Savathûn's strut weaves its way into the sound ambiance of her room, with tense musical compositions that remind the player not to become too comfortable. A physical manifestation of cunning and deceit breathes their same air. When the player approaches Savathûn's statue, it whispers to them, trying to get inside their head. During story missions in Season of the Lost, Savathûn speaks directly to the player, but not in the expected cadence of a villain. She does not accuse loudly like some depictions of evil. She does not proclaim herself as a threat, daring the player to defy her. She poses as a friend, an ally in this disastrous circumstance. Savathûn claims she has tried to help us, calling herself our friend in her recent story cutscene. She disguises her past manipulations as helping a friend in need, such as her interference with the arrival of the Black Fleet that resulted in our allies' close brush with death. In the same cutscene, she attempts to alter the player's view on past events, explaining, "I am no villain, and you are no hero. We are paracausal." This statement reveals Savathûn's trickery, as she attempts to convince Guardians that both of them are on the same playing field. Both Savathûn and Guardians contain powers that defy causality, that science nor logic have the capacity to explain, and thus, Savathûn suggests, we are equal beings. These subtle alterations that attempt to change the way Guardians perceive reality expose Savathûn's manipulative tactics. She is an entity who thrives in ignorance and doubt, taking advantage of those who do not know her heinous, self-serving acts. Naivety is her playground as she seeks to corrupt anyone who does not know better. This narrative depiction of evil bears a surprising resemblance to that of the Bible. It is not loud, bellowing out accusations to anyone who will listen. It is not blatantly obvious at first, as that would give away its disguise. Real evil whispers. It plants seeds of doubt and leads good people to their slow, subtle death of the soul. Proverbs 24, 1-2, in the King James Version, warns those who pursue good, "Be not thou envious against evil men, neither desire to be with them, for their heart studieth destruction, and their lips talk of mischief." In the Bible, those who practice evil have an infectious quality to them. They study that which is evil, and thus practice what they preach, swaying those around them toward evil themselves. They know evil, and therefore know the best methods to spread it to others. This contagious element of evil is displayed in Destiny 2's Savathûn as well. One of the methods Savathûn employs to spread her influence and possibly drive characters to madness is a simple, infectious song. It is known as Savathûn's song, bearing a mere 8 notes. Eris Morn describes this song during the Prophecy Dungeon as a viral chant that can never be unheard. The song worms its way into its victim's mind, repeating and repeating and repeating. Viral repetitions such as these potentially have the power to influence a character's mind, and even erase one's entire identity. Savathûn used a similar source of viral magic to erase the very personality of Galrin, loyalist of Emperor Callus in the Crown of Sorrow raid. In the description of the armor piece Shadow's plate, Callus describes the Crown's usage of viral magic. Imagine my chagrin when Galrin's very personality was annihilated within minutes of exposure. Whatever viral language was etched into the Crown's interior had taken over. Until you ended him, he belonged to a witch. Savathûn uses viral magic to weave into the victim's mind with symbols that repeat endlessly in their thoughts until any deviating thoughts disappear, and the viral magic repeats, it repeats, it repeats until there is nothing but that which repeats. One of the primary characters started faintly humming this song in the tower, the hub world we Guardians many others call home. Then another character in the helm. Then another, spreading the contagion known as Savathûn's song. The Bible describes the main agent of evil, the devil, as a murderer who hates the truth and whose every word is contaminated with lies. John 8:44 in the New Living Translation explains that the devil was a murderer from the beginning. He has always hated the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. The devil may use half-truths to manipulate his victims, but he is not to be trusted. His usage of partial truths is only for harm, to seduce his victims into believing that not only is he telling the truth, but he's telling you truths that God doesn't want you to know. Truths that will make you powerful. Savathûn employs this deceptive tactic as well, lying and lying and lying until her words echo so often in our head that we believe we put them there. Savathûn writes under the guise of Eris Morn in her very own lorebook, known as Truth to Power. Although this lorebook seems to bear some resemblance to the truth at first, it is utterly full of lies. The content of this lorebook is so esoteric that player after player strains to make sense of the misfit collection of words. Discussions on Truth to Power occupy hundreds of online posts and videos, with players struggling to find a drop of truth in a murky sea of lies. Players argue about who the author is, what passages that seem to speak directly to the player could possibly mean, and what truly is the Truth to Power. However, this is exactly what Savathûn wants. If Savathûn could browse online forums and witness the discord her writings caused, she would most certainly smile. After all, Savathûn desires for Guardians to be confused, scared, and quarreling with one another. Proverbs 6:12-14 in the English Standard Version reads as follows: "A wicked man, with perverted heart, devises evil, continually sowing discord." Perhaps Savathûn created Truth to Power in an effort to distract players and turn them against one another. This motivation greatly resembles that of the wicked man in Proverbs 6. Savathûn even gloats about her capacity to distort the truth and confuse players in the lore entry titled, "Thank You." She explains, "Cunning is the use of thought to predict the function of a system. Therefore, wherever a being should attempt to understand me and fail, has my cunning not defeated theirs? Wherever a falsehood is repeated about me, have I not displayed cunning? I shall gather tribute from every false prediction, misguided theory, fearful rumor, and ominous supposition which derives from the thought of me. And in time I shall pin my quiddity upon these rumors. I shall discorporate, so that I exist wherever my schemes and conspiracies also exist. And so I will be immortal, as long as anyone seeks to understand me and fails." Do you see? This lore entry proves Savathûn is aware of her ability to disorient others using deceitful language, and every time she is misunderstood, underestimated, or studied, she grows in power. Biblical evil also delights in deceit in causing agitation. Job 15:34-35 in the English Standard Version explains, "The godless conceive trouble and give birth to evil, and their womb prepares deceit." Evil men strive for a community to be both confused and hostile toward one another, as it is easier to manipulate those on shaky ground than those who stand firm on solid ground. So, how do we fight these evils? They are formidable, cunning, and seem to tower over us, whether physically or spiritually. At times, they feel invulnerable, but we must remember, what gives evil its power? The dark. Schemes are best hidden in confused, doubtful minds with no light to expose the truth. In daylight, every twist of the truth is obvious, every deception is blatant and pathetic. 2 Corinthians 2:10-11 in the New Living Translation explains, "And when I forgive whatever needs to be forgiven, I do so with Christ's authority for your benefit, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes." When you can expect how your enemy will act, they lose their grip of fear over you. Without the shroud of darkness, evil schemes are predictable and lack originality. This dispels a Christian's fear of the devil because they know his tricks and how to overcome them. In Destiny 2, a lore entry titled "To the Witch Queen," written by Eris Morn, describes this freedom. "We are no longer forced to endure your torture. There is no veil for you to hide behind. We see you plainly. I no longer know fear. I am overcome with certainty. When next we come face to face, I will remove the bandages that shield me, so that I may see you for all you are and all you are not." Eris Morn has finally recognized the freedom of seeing evil's form clearly and blatantly behind its sorry facade of power. Only by knowing Savathûn's moves does Eris know how to counterattack. In life, we encounter several evils. Whether we are enduring the company of corrupt people, or the deceptive words of a fictional villain, or perhaps attacks from the devil himself, one thing is true. Even when evil towers over us spiritually or physically, consuming our vision and thoughts, we know its weakness. We are familiar with its schemes and we know how to stand firm. With this knowledge, we now have the freedom to stare evil in the eyes, empowered by the light. With this newfound authority, we can tell evil in the words of Eris Morn, "Prepare yourself. I am your ruin."